This week, an ESPN analyst, whose name we won't even give the dignity of repeating, went on air to question Shedeur's authenticity. Not his mechanics, not his football IQ, not his performance. No, his hat and his demeanor on the sideline, the way he reacts, the way he doesn't perform rage or frustration for cameras. In other words, the way he doesn't fit into their little mold. And while that nonsense was swirling around like bad weather on football Twitter, if you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Cleveland Browns insider Tony Rizzo finally stood up and said what a lot of people have been thinking. This is not about football. This is not about leadership. This is not about performance. This is about perception. And that perception, it's being driven by insecurity, old school bias, and a media machine that still can't handle a quarterback who leads differently. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't a cookie-cutter prospect. He's not a one-size-fits-all leader. And for some reason, that's threatening. But Rizzo, he shut that down. Hard. He went on local radio and said exactly what needed to be said. That all this criticism about hats, facial expressions, effort, wasn't just nonsense. It was lazy. It was the kind of analysis you throw out when you don't want to deal with the real story. And the real story? Shedeur Sanders is more prepared, more poised, and more respected than half the quarterbacks getting snaps in the NFL right now. He's just stuck behind a narrative. Let's talk about that. Because while fans argue over who should start, Flacco, Gabriel, Shedeur, the media is playing puppet master with narrative. They're telling you what to think before you even see the tape. And here's the angle they love. Shedeur's third string, because he doesn't try hard enough off the field. Excuse me? Are we really doing this? This is a quarterback who's been around football royalty his entire life. A player who handled the insane pressure of being Deion Sanders' son and still managed to show up week after week without an ounce of entitlement. A guy who studied under a Hall of Famer, who stayed composed through every preseason rep, who stepped up in the locker room when no one else did. And we're saying he doesn't try hard enough? Nah. What they mean is, we don't understand him. What they mean is, he doesn't play by our outdated rules. What they mean is, he doesn't make us comfortable. But here's the part they're ignoring. His teammates love him. You don't have to be in the huddle to see it. Just look at the sidelines. Look at the respect. Look at the body language when Shedeur walks past players who've been in the league longer than he's been out of college. You can't fake that. You earn that. So let's stop pretending this is about effort. This is about acceptance. And the Browns? They're in a bind. Because right now, they're straddling two realities. One, they've got a talented rookie QB who's done everything right. Two, they're terrified to shake up the pecking order because the media might throw a fit. But at some point, you got to ask, who are you building your team for? The pundits or the locker room? Because Shedeur didn't just show leadership during the game. He showed it after. When Andreas Zimyt missed that game winner and the entire sideline went dead silent, Shedeur was the only one who walked over, who said something, who stood there in solidarity. Not for clout, not for the camera, but because that's who he is. And yet the reaction? Oh, he only did that for attention. Really? So now showing empathy is suspicious? That's where we're at? It's the classic double bind. If he does nothing, he's cold. If he does something, he's manipulative. If he shows emotion, he's unstable. If he stays calm, he's disinterested. It's exhausting. And it's a setup because no matter what Shedeur does, there's a segment of media that's determined to box him in. And let's not pretend this is all football. Some of this is optics. Some of this is image. Some of this is the fact that a young, confident black quarterback with media savvy, swagger, and substance makes the old guard deeply uncomfortable. You want proof? Look at how different the narrative is for other rookies. Look at how many guys with worse preseason numbers and less maturity are still being hyped up like they're the second coming. But Shedeur, he gets the backwards hat treatment. He gets the too calm treatment. He gets the maybe he's not serious treatment. And still, he doesn't bite. Still, he doesn't fire back. Still, he shows up, does the work, lifts up his teammates, and quietly prepares for the moment he knows is coming. And don't think for a second he doesn't know what's happening. He sees the fake narratives. He sees the slander. He hears the talk. And he lets it ride. Because that's what his father taught him. And speaking of Deion, let's talk about the realest piece of this entire conversation. Development. Deion Sanders' approach to player development has been controversial. Sure. But it's also been proven. He doesn't care about what you did last year. He doesn't care about media hype. He cares about effort, growth, character. That's why he started Ryan Stabb, a player who, on paper, wasn't supposed to be the guy. But Deion doesn't build teams based on paper. He builds them based on presence. And guess who's been paying attention to that philosophy? Shedeur. You can see it in how he carries himself. He's not rushing the process. He's not skipping steps. He's not throwing a fit because he's QB3. He's watching. He's absorbing. He's waiting because he knows something the rest of the league is just starting to figure out. The loudest statement you can make is silence, especially when you're right. And now, as the Browns teeter on the edge of a season that could go either way, they've got a choice to make. Stick with the safe, familiar options, or lean into the future that's already on their bench. Because if the only thing holding Shedeur back is perception, then that's not a Shedeur problem. That's a Browns problem. And if they don't fix it, they're going to miss out on more than just wins. They're going to miss out on a culture shifter, a locker room stabilizer, a leader who doesn't need to yell, doesn't need to perform, doesn't need to beg for attention, because his actions already say it all. So yeah, maybe Shedeur Sanders wears his hat backwards. But if you think that's the reason he's not starting, you're not watching the game. You're watching the narrative. And that narrative, it's crumbling fast. So drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is just getting started. Should Shedeur be QB1? Are media critics unfairly targeting him? Or is this just what happens when you challenge tradition in a system that wasn't built for you? And if you're tired of the fake outrage, the surface-level critiques, and the same old storylines being recycled year after year, hit that subscribe button, because we're not just covering the noise. We're exposing the truth. And Shedeur Sanders? He's not just breaking the mold. He's redefining it. Shedeur Sanders is not the problem. He's a litmus test. For the media, for the league, for the Browns front office, for us. Because how you react to Shedeur Sanders says more about you than it does about him. If you see a confident young man with a poised presence and read that as cocky, that's on you. If you see a calm leader on the sidelines, not flailing his arms or screaming at teammates, and assume that means he doesn't care, again, that's on you. If you're looking at his backwards hat and drawing conclusions about his leadership maturity or readiness to lead an NFL franchise, then congratulations. You've officially exposed yourself as someone more invested in aesthetic than substance. And if you're in the Browns organization, and you're still hiding behind buzzwords like development and patience while giving meaningful reps to guys who couldn't lead a high school group chat, then let's just call it what it is. You're scared of changing the hierarchy because Shedeur challenges the system. He doesn't wait for validation. He shows up as a finished product, poised, professional, and prepared. And when a guy like that walks into the room, it shifts the power dynamics. And that's uncomfortable, especially in a league, in a franchise that loves control. But here's the kicker. He's not even asking for the spotlight. He's just doing what he's always done. Staying ready, doing the work, holding space for his teammates, being a real leader. And let me tell you, leadership like that doesn't go unnoticed. Not in a locker room full of men who can spot fake from a mile away. Not in a sport where trust is everything. Not in a city like Cleveland, where fans know the difference between showmanship and substance. They've seen the frauds. They've lived through the jersey swaps, the false promises, the second-rounders who turned into second-stringers before the ink was dry. But Shedeur, he doesn't feel like any of those guys. He feels inevitable. And it's not just about the missed kick, either. Yes, the moment with Andreas MYT was real. It was emotional. It was authentic. But that wasn't a one-off. That was the culmination of everything Shedeur has been building since he landed in Cleveland. The respect, the presence, the gravity. You don't console a teammate in the middle of the most emotionally devastating moment of their career unless you're built for leadership. And you don't have your teammates rally around you afterwards unless they already see you that way. Shedeur didn't manufacture that moment. He earned it. So why is he still third string? Why are we still pretending this is about development? Let me ask you something real. If Shedeur Sanders was the son of anyone else, anyone without sunglasses, swagger, and a coaching gig in Colorado, will we still be debating his authenticity? Or will we be celebrating his quiet leadership, his discipline, his readiness? Because this has never been about Shedeur's skill. It's been about his image. And the uncomfortable truth is, a lot of the NFL, front offices, media, fans, still aren't comfortable with quarterbacks who don't fit the prototype. The league loves a certain brand of leader, the humble grinder, the stoic tactician, the square-jawed warrior who keeps his head down and lets his play do the talking. But when you're a young, articulate, confident black quarterback with charisma and control, suddenly the standards shift. Suddenly it's, let's wait and see. Let's nitpick everything. Let's question his passion. Let's dissect his hat like it's a press conference. And if you think Shedeur doesn't see all this, think again. He's very aware. But the difference between Shedeur and most young players is that he doesn't need to react. He doesn't need to clap back. He knows exactly how this works. He's been raised inside the system. He's seen how fast the same people who praise you can tear you down. He's learned how to wait, not in silence, but in preparation. Because when the moment comes, and it will, he's not going to ask for anyone's approval. He's just going to take over. Let's be honest. The Browns are not in a position to waste another year. They're not in a place to gamble on feel-good narratives or reputation. They need results. They need direction. They need someone the locker room trusts. And that guy might already be on the sideline. But here's what they don't realize yet. When Shedeur's number gets called, it won't just be a quarterback change. It'll be a cultural reset. Because Shedeur doesn't just bring accuracy and vision. He brings accountability. He brings stability. He brings a kind of leadership that doesn't show up in post-game interviews, but in the quiet decisions that build a team from the inside out. He's not just a player. He's a foundation. So if the Browns are smart, they stop listening to the outside noise. They stop chasing image. They stop letting outdated narratives shape a modern franchise. And they start watching what's right in front of them. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't a gamble. He's an investment. And the sooner they cash in, the sooner this team starts acting like more than just a collection of talented parts. They start acting like a unit, a program, a team with a leader who doesn't need a hype video to earn your respect. Just give him a huddle, give him a voice, and give him the shot he's already proven he deserves. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the hat. It's not about the sideline demeanor. It's not about the ESPN hot takes or Tony Rizzo's rants or Twitter's divided fan base. It's about this. Shedeur Sanders is ready. And the only thing left to do is let him show the rest of the world what Cleveland already suspects, that the future is already here. It's bigger than Shedeur Sanders. It's bigger than the Browns. What we're watching unfold right now is a full-blown collision between old football thinking and the new era that refuses to apologize for showing up with confidence, clarity, and a backwards hat. And here's the real tea. This isn't just about who's ready to play. It's about who's ready to lead. You want to know why the NFL can't stop talking about Shedeur Sanders, even though he hasn't played a single regular season snap? You want to know why a simple, genuine moment with a kicker went more viral than half the touchdowns that week? Because people are starving for authenticity. In a league where every post-game answer sounds like it was generated by a corporate-approved chatbot, where every sideline reaction is turned into a meme or a scandal, where players are either expected to be statues or circus acts, Shedeur is doing something different. He's just being real. That moment with Andre SCMYT, it wasn't branded. It wasn't scripted. There was no PR team hovering nearby. There was no guarantee that anyone was even watching. That's what made it powerful. It was leadership in its rawest, most unfiltered form. And here's the kicker. It worked. That locker room saw it. The players saw it. The coaches saw it. And slowly but undeniably, you can feel the shift happening, the momentum building, the trust forming. It's not loud yet, but it's steady, and it's real. And yet, he's still QB3, still sidelined behind a carousel of safe options, still being questioned for not yelling loud enough, still being dissected by analysts whose idea of modern quarterback play hasn't evolved since 2007, still being judged by how he looks instead of what he shows. Let's talk about that. Because the NFL has always had a complicated relationship with quarterbacks who don't fit the mold. The moment a young player walks into the room with personality, style, and intelligence, there's a tension, an unspoken test. Can you tone it down? Can you blend in? Can you lead the way we define leadership? And if you can't, or more accurately, if you won't, the narrative starts to write itself. You're flashy. You're distracted. You're not focused. You're not serious. And that's the label they're itching to pin on Shedeur. Just look at the way the criticism has played out. Not one major on-field mistake. Not a single outburst. No off-field scandals. No conflict with teammates. But still, the word immature hovers in the subtext of every critique. Why? Because he's confident? Because he carries himself like someone who knows he belongs, even if the system hasn't caught up yet? Let's be crystal clear. This isn't about readiness. This is about comfort. And the league still struggles to feel comfortable with quarterbacks who defy the traditional blueprint. But Shedeur, he's not here to make them comfortable. He's here to win. He's here to lead. He's here to be something the league has needed for a long, long time. A quarterback who leads with empathy, with intelligence, and with a new kind of swagger. The kind that doesn't demand attention. It earns it. Quietly. Consistently. Over time. And guess what? Time's almost up. Because every week that goes by, the Browns' excuses wear thinner. The fan base grows louder. The calls for change grow sharper. And the narrative, the one the media thought they controlled, it's slipping out of their hands. Because the truth always finds its way through the noise. And Shedeur, he's just waiting. Calm. Composed. But not passive. Don't confuse patience with submission. He's not sitting back because he's scared. He's not holding the clipboard because he lacks ambition. He's not letting the talking heads control his image because he doesn't care. He's doing it because he knows. He knows what it looks like when the spotlight hits too early. He knows what it costs to chase validation. He knows the value of making your moment count, not just exist. And when that moment comes, and it will, he's going to step into it without needing anyone's permission. Because while they've been crafting hot takes and debating hats, Shedeur Sanders has been building something deeper. Trust. In the locker room, on the sideline, with his teammates, and now with the fans. That trust? You can't coach it. You can't script it. You can't fake it. And once it takes root, you better believe the entire organization shifts with it. So the Browns need to ask themselves something, and fast. Do they want to lead the shift? Or get dragged behind it? Because this isn't a question of if Shedeur is the future. It's only a question of whether the Browns have the guts to admit it before someone else does. And let me say this now, while we're still early. If you don't play him, someone else will. You think other teams aren't watching this unfold? You think the rest of the league isn't quietly evaluating what Cleveland's got tucked away on that bench? Quarterbacks with this kind of awareness, maturity, and composure don't stay third string for long. There are 32 franchises in this league, and only about 12 of them can confidently say they've got a true franchise guy. Everyone else? They're on the hunt. And if Cleveland fumbles this, if they choose to protect the narrative instead of embracing the truth, they're going to lose more than games. They're going to lose a leader. So what happens next? Do the Browns lean into the moment and let Shedeur lead this team into a new chapter? Or do they let fear and optics dictate their decisions? Because here's what you can't do anymore. You can't pretend he's not ready. You can't keep questioning his commitment without evidence. You can't dismiss the energy in that locker room every time he steps into it. And you definitely can't keep ignoring the fact that the fans are already sold. So this is it. The final test of Cleveland's willingness to evolve. To recognize leadership when it doesn't look exactly like the last guy. To let go of the fear that's kept this team from leveling up for decades. To say, We see you, we trust you, and your time is now. Because if they wait any longer, that time might pass them by. And Shedeur Sanders? He won't be bitter. He won't be loud. He'll just move on to a team that sees what he is, not a prospect, not a backup, but a leader of men. So now it's your turn. Are the Browns wasting Shedeur's talent? Is this about football or fear? And how long should someone have to prove themselves before we stop questioning what's right in front of us? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're here for the real stories, the leadership, the controversy, the unraveling of fake narratives, subscribe. You already know what we do here, because the media might spin it, but the tape never lies. And neither does a sideline moment that shifts the future of a franchise.